We think we know how this story ends. There's a date. There's a location. There's an official explanation. April 8th, 1994. The greenhouse above the garage of his Seattle home. A self-inflicted gunshot wound. The world was given a narrative, a simple, tragic conclusion to a complicated life. And for a moment, the world relaxed, because the human mind hates uncertainty. It craves closure. It prefers a simple answer, even a painful one, over an uncomfortable question that lingers in the air. We were told the case was closed, but this is where we get it wrong. Because when a story is truly over, people move on. They don't revisit it for decades. They don't obsess over it, analyze it frame by frame, or pass it down to a new generation like a dark, unresolved inheritance. They don't keep asking the same questions 30 years later. Yet Kurt Cobain's story refuses to settle. It echoes. It disturbs. It resists the neat and tidy box it was placed in. And that fact alone should make us pause. This isn't about promoting a conspiracy theory. This video is not here to tell you what happened. It's here to explore something far more important. Why the questions never stopped. Because sometimes we're wrong not because the answer we were given is false, but because it's profoundly incomplete. Let's start with the illusion of closure. After Kurt Cobain's body was discovered, reports were released by the Seattle Police Department. Official statements were made. A handful of photos were published, carefully selected. A narrative was formed, and it spread across the globe within hours. On paper, it looked clean. The toxicology report, the note, the scene. All the pieces were there to construct a story that made a certain kind of sense. But stories don't live on paper. They live in the details, in the texture of reality, in the small inconsistencies that don't make the headlines. And when you slow this story down, when you look past the official summaries and into the raw data, something feels off. Not dramatically wrong, not obviously false, just unfinished. It's like watching a film where a crucial scene has been cut, leaving you with a sense of unease you can't quite name. Take the timeline. According to the official narrative, everything happened within a specific window of time. But when you actually examine that window, gaps appear. Not minutes, hours, entire blocks of time where assumptions replace certainty. Hours that were never fully explained, only summarized. And summaries are dangerous because they hide complexity. They smooth over contradictions. When timelines are solid, they don't need defending. They explain themselves. This one doesn't. It requires belief. It asks us to fill in the blanks with the most convenient explanation, and that's a red flag in any investigation, official or otherwise. Then there's the portrayal of Kurt Cobain's state of mind. Yes, he was struggling. Yes, addiction was a destructive force in his life. Yes, chronic pain was a constant companion. That much is undeniable and non-negotiable. His art and his life were steeped in it. But pain alone does not tell the full story. The media narrative, then and now, often reduces this complex reality to a single, simplistic sentence. He was in a dark place. And while true, that statement is used as a full stop, an explanation in itself. But being in a dark place doesn't always lead to the same ending. Many people navigate profound darkness and find their way through. To assume it's a one-way street is an assumption born of comfort. It simplifies the messiness of the human condition. It lets us off the hook. And that kind of comfort has a way of blinding us to the details that don't fit. And then there's the silence. One of the most disturbing and telling parts of this story ascend what was said in the immediate aftermath. It's what wasn't said, and what hasn't been said since. Key individuals who were close to the situation, people who were there in those final days, have been notoriously quiet or evasive. Some people only spoke out years later, their stories sometimes shifting. Some have never spoken publicly at all. And some, when asked direct questions in interviews or documentaries, always stop just short of finishing the sentence. You can see it in their eyes. A hesitation. A carefully chosen phrase. A deflection. This isn't the kind of silence that suggests there's nothing to say. Silence isn't empty. It's loaded. It's heavy with unspoken information, especially when it appears repeatedly around the same unanswered points in the timeline and the same inconsistencies in the evidence. When that many people close to an event share a collective reluctance to speak freely, it's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. It signals that the public story and the private one are not the same. And then there's what came after. The culture that formed around Kurt Cobain's death. Almost immediately, he became more than a musician. He became an icon, a symbol, a myth, the last great rock star. But he also became the center of something else, a collective, unspoken uncertainty. Everyone knows the official story. Everyone has heard the explanation. Yet almost no one feels fully certain. That's the strange part. Think about it. When other beloved figures die tragically, there is grief. The narrative is unstable. It feels like a temporary placeholder, not a final truth. And here's the key point that most people miss in the debate. This isn't about proving an alternative theory. It's not about replacing one answer with another. It's about recognizing a powerful and persistent pattern. When too many people, across decades, across cultures, from seasoned journalists to casual fans, all feel the same unresolved tension around a single event, that tension matters. It is data. It's not proof that the official story is wrong. But it is powerful evidence that something was left unsaid, something was left unexplained, something was left unresolved. So maybe the real issue isn't what happened on or around April 5th, 1994. Maybe the real issue is this. Why does the official story feel so insufficient to so many people? Why does it fail to provide the very closure it was designed to deliver? Perhaps it's because the narrative we were given is too simple for the life it was meant to conclude. It's a two-dimensional explanation for a three-dimensional person. Sometimes answers don't haunt us because they're demonstrably wrong. They haunt us because they don't fully explain the weight of what we are trying to understand. They feel hollow. They don't account for all the details, all the contradictions, all the human complexity that we intuitively feel was present. And that's why Kurt Cobain's story refuses to end. That's why we're still here, talking about it. This video isn't here to say, this is the truth. It's here to say something much simpler, and perhaps more important. If everything were truly settled, we wouldn't still be here. The questions would have faded. The unease would have dissolved. But it hasn't. And maybe the most profound question isn't about how Kurt Cobain died. Maybe it's about how he lived, and how a life so full of raw, chaotic, and brilliant energy could be so easily flattened into a cautionary tale. Maybe the real question we've been asking all along is this: did Kurt Cobain really disappear in a single violent moment? Or did he slowly fade out while everyone was watching, lost in a story that was being written for him, long before the final page was turned? Thanks for watching.